Another harrowing tale of utter brutality, this story plumbs the depths of darkness contained in the human psyche. We open on a helpful info card warning us that this film is based on true events, in that violent crimes do take place in the US sometimes. We then take a throbbing ride through a pulsating suburban neighborhood and straight out into the sticks. A 911 call then plays as a couple of young Mormon boys describe entering a house and finding blood all over. Now we go back again to a sad young couple, Kristen and James, arriving at a family vacation home after an apparently gut-wrenching event. Kristen timidly stubs her butt outside and heads in to find that James, the old dog, had planned a magically erotic evening for the two of them. Now he's left to clean up the mess as their shattered relationship is just not conducive to romance. While Kristen bathes, James calls his buddy Mike and leaves a message asking for him to come pick him up in the morning since things are going so poorly. After this, we flash back to see that their evening started at a wedding. Hoping the general environment has moved Kristen into a certain mindset, he invites her outside. There he delicately carries her across the lot before setting her down and pulling out a ring. Based on the aftermath, we can guess her answer. Yeah, but it was just a promise ring, no big deal. Anyway, he buries his feelings in a carton of ice cream and imagines what it might be like to be able to disappear. When Kristen joins him, he offers up the ring as a consolation, hoping to demonstrate his financial fitness as well as potentially trick her into marriage. A reasonable plan B. And then they wonder, as we all do, where a committed couple goes in their relationship after this level of rejection and embarrassment. James starts by putting on some music and then they attempt to comfort each other. This seems to get things heading back down the right track, but their consummation is interrupted by a loud knock on the front door. A faceless young woman has come calling, looking for Tamara at 4 a.m. They confirm that she has the wrong house, so she heads off. Hey, no harm, no foul. Kristen is then overcome with an urge to suck on some cigarettes, and James was looking to take a relaxing drive. So he transitions the fire from their loins to the fireplace to keep her warm and comfortable before going outside to get his pre-drive buzz on. He then drives into town as she checks out her new ring, trying to guess in her mind how much she may be able to pawn it for. She passes the time lazing about before being startled by a single loud knock on the door. It's followed by several others as she slowly approaches. She calls out to her night visitor, who meekly asks about Tamara again and seems confused by the revelation that she's already been to this residence. Kristen then goes to stare out into the eerily calm night, taking solace in the fact that nothing bad ever happens to good people. But then, as if on cue, the fireplace starts smoking out, setting off the smoke detector. She disables it in the customary fashion and then is alarmed by more persistent knocking on the front door. She plugs in her phone, then calls James from the landline to let him know there are strange happenings afoot and requests that he hurry back. Nicotine be damned. The line goes dead as they wrap up their conversation, causing her to proceed slowly through the living room. There is an unnerving background presence, but that's just for us. For now, because he disappears. Then, as she consumes a refreshing glass of water, she hears a noise that sounds like it's from inside the house. Naturally, she grabs a knife and heads slowly toward it, trusting that, if she's cautious enough, any subsequent violence will fall in her favor. Along the way, she gets confirmation that someone was indeed inside the house with her. In response to this, she turtles for a few seconds, frozen in fear, but she's also damn curious about the interesting cacophony of sounds coming from outside. When she finally builds up the courage to take a look, she instantly wishes that she hadn't. Then the front door opens, but the intruder only makes a half-hearted attempt to get in. She runs back to the bedroom to have a good cry and patiently await her impending death. But when the room is finally infiltrated, it's by James. As she tries to explain the newest information, he seems to have a really hard time with the concept of a home invasion. He starts checking some of the rooms and is quick to confirm that it's likely that her imagination is just off the chain. Once he finishes clearing all the rooms and misses that her phone is in the fire, he gives the all clear. Kristen peeks back outside again and now sees that one lady loitering out in the front yard since there are no signs posted. They contemplate shooing her away, but that problem ends up resolving itself. James then further insists that while this lady is an obvious nutbag, no one came inside the house, as if he was there. But to make sure they're not totally isolated, James goes out to retrieve his phone from the car. Upon approach, he discovers that his vehicle has been smashed to hell. Regardless, he begins his search as a mysterious stranger playfully tickles his neck. He confronts his lady caller, but then realizes that he's been surrounded, and Kristen,
"What's happening?"
only adds to the confusion, preventing him from being able to keep track of these constantly disappearing weirdos. goes. Satisfied that he must have scared them all off with his intense bravado, he goes back inside. James is now on board with developing a defense plan, and also suggests that they're remote enough that it's going to be up to them to ensure their own safety and survival. Just to drive this home, his phone then shows up and confirms to him that they have been inside the house. Now determined to leave, he leads the way right back out to the car, but they discover, as he begins to attempt to back his way down the driveway, that the strangers have a car as well, and they use it to ram them up the rear, sending them scurrying back into the house. James gets real serious now and goes searching for his dad's hidden gun, which he finds in short order. Then they head to the bedroom where they wonder how the hell these freaks are getting in and out of the house. After a quick search of the closet, he reunites Gun with ammo, but also reveals he's winging it, as he has no idea how to operate a firearm. The initial plan is to walk out the front door, but this is quickly undermined when the intruders begin asking if they can come in. James and Kristen manage to get the door barricaded and then maybe blast one of their heads off. Afterward, they hole up and wait patiently for whatever's to come next, which happens to be some refreshingly upbeat music, the perfect background for any saucy little family annihilation. In an unexpected twist, Mike demonstrates that it's never too late or too early to get your boys back. He parks out front and walks toward the house, but is quickly alerted to the fact that something is off, so he goes to do some investigating. We're not totally sure how he's interpreting this information, because he does wander into the house, but with a cudgel in hand. He finds the interior of the house eerily calm given the indications of violence, and is slowly pursued down the hallway. But don't trouble yourself, James has this one. And soon, both he and Kristen are writhing on the ground, wallowing in their grief. Consumed by his pain and anger, James marches right out to give those little so-and-sos a piece of his mind, but they're very selective about making appearances. His next idea is to have Kristen hide at the house so he can make for the barn, which may still have an old ham radio that's functional. When he gets there, he checks the old truck and finds the radio destroyed. On his way back, he spies one of the strangers and manages to draw a bead on her, but is then assaulted from behind. Back at home, Kristen is employing some next-level warfare, hiding in plain sight and waiting for her lover's return. But the first one back is the bagman, and she hears his labored breathing outside. She opts to run, but the shadows outside obscure a small crevasse that causes her to pull a hammy and turn her ankle. She army crawls her way to shelter, but only makes it by the grace of her attacker, and begins searching for James. She sort of wanders around until she happens upon a different radio that seems to still function, but she doesn't know how to work it or who she's even calling. But it doesn't matter much, as the noise attracts the attention of an unseen stalker. So, right as she raises someone on the other end, they drop their axe on the radio. She crawls out and keeps low, watching as one of them approaches the house. She manages to avoid detection, but in the process of crawling and observing her surroundings, she loses track of all three of them. Once back in the house, she attempts to make her way through when the lights cut out, so Kristen comes out, chin up, to face her destiny. But when she involuntarily evades detection by the bagman, she decides to keep living and slips into a well-lit closet as he comes out and takes a look around. She waits patiently for her chance to run while he settles in and takes in the ambiance, eventually leaving out of boredom. Kristen wonders if it's safe and gets a quick answer revealing that it is not. After a brief thrashing, her attacker is distracted by the ring box on the table. Kristen steps out as the stranger considers the knife, and they both prepare to throw down. But any resolve Kristen had left is diminished when they return James to her, incapacitated. Recognizing that if they can get James, she stands no chance, so she instead runs back to the bedroom, the safest place in any house. The lights are mercifully reinstated as she awaits whatever's next. And then it happens. She's so exhausted and emotionally drained at this point that she can barely put up any resistance to being dragged down the hallway. And then everything goes dark. In the comforting warmth of the morning light, the couple finds themselves tied up and facing their attackers. Despite the lack of bargaining power, they insist on being told why.
Because you were home.
Oh, thanks. They then ruminate on their unending sequence of failures, as our curious little home invaders let their face skin stretch out and breathe a little before they begin some experimental stabbing. And they're gender inclusive, in both the giving and the receiving. An unspecified amount of time later, the crime scene appears to be vacated. Kristen is brought back to life by the ringing of Mike's phone, the only communication device they forgot to destroy. She's mildly to severely anemic at this point, but manages to drag herself over regardless. Unfortunately, it's revealed that she's not yet alone, and she is relieved of her BlackBerry. Then the Mormons roll up and are confronted by the trio. Luckily for the young man, they're only interested in hearing the good word, and upon confirming she lives a life of intermittent sin, a pamphlet is bestowed upon her. Then we circle back around to see the context of the 911 call from the opening, while Kristen ensures these boys never sleep again. Well, that was brutal, but if you're looking to go deeper than that, be sure to check out this video next. Now that we're here, I want to congratulate you for making it to the end of the video and affirm that you are a very special person because of it. And if you enjoyed the video, I would love for you to become a part of the channel by subscribing. Thanks for watching.